Hi there. I wanted to say a few words today about the female abuser and jealousy, and I wanted to speak particularly to the guys out there today, but this is actually very, very useful for women to understand as well. And when we look at our safe relationship chaining toolbox that I mentioned so much, whereby we have this set of skills that we have available to us in order to keep us safe in our relationships and in order to help us to create safe relationships and situations. It's quite a good idea to understand why certain people behave the way that they do, and to understand the different ways how an abusive dynamic can be set up out of our awareness. And these are some of the tools that we can have in our safe relationship chaining toolbox. So understanding is one of the key tools to have in our safe relationship chaining toolbox, and to gain as much awareness as we can, and to be aware also in that of our own behaviour and how that impacts on the dynamics involved. So today I want to just mention a few tips, a few things about a female abuser who may be very, very undercover, or they may be very, very covert, overt, in your face, obvious, someone who is obviously someone that we may not want to engage with in the future. But sometimes, as with a male abuser, they can be very undercover, very sweet. Sometimes not the case. Sometimes because our character and our personality is as it is, as it were, not that we can't change that, but sometimes because people are so used to being the way they are and have such a huge sense of entitlement that they come over as being who they are very early on, and it's very obvious, and they don't deviate from that behaviour whatever the situation is that they are in. So sometimes it's easy to spot the potential abuser, and sometimes it's more difficult if the abuser is undercover a great deal of the time, which of course, because of the facade and because of the mask, that is quite often the case early on. So it can be difficult for men, if they're looking for an intimate relationship, to not get swept away with this lovely, charming, charismatic, sexy, sweet woman that's presented to them, and not be able to see beneath the mask until they're quite strongly drawn in and cemented, solidified in the relationship, by which case it could be very much more difficult to get out. So the female abuser in jealousy sometimes is quite often jealous of people in general, particularly if they're very narcissistic, and not only other women but also men as well. Quite often, as we know through narcissistic dynamics, if you've done your research on narcissism, quite often you can sense on a spiritual level that they don't cope very well with other people's success. A healthy person and a nice, truly nice person will be very pleased with someone's success. They will want to support them. They will be pleased for them. A very narcissistic individual or an abuser is often jealous and envious of other people's success, or their beauty, or their wealth, or their materialism, what they possess. And they will often then not have the empathy to empathise with those who don't have those things, who don't have a lot of material wealth. So sometimes if it's a very narcissistic person, They can be very, they like materialism, they like wealth, they expect and feel entitled to have those things regardless for themselves. And they often will say that they feel they don't like to see other people happy, don't like to see them smiling, don't like to see them content, satisfied and joyful, because they believe that only they deserve that, and if they don't feel that they've got that, then they can feel very jealous. And this is where the difficulties come in. This is where we get the reaction through character assassination, through sometimes, if they're very pathological, they will try and destroy the life of the victim, the person they're jealous of in some way. They will try sometimes to take over the identity of the person and take it on themselves. But of course, we are the way we are. We can change, but it's quite difficult for these people to become authentically who the victim is, because that's not who they are at their core. And at the end of the day, generally you will see a victim, their true character will come forward. So a woman will often pop up in various different situations to be something other than what she says she is. So sometimes you will see this abusive behaviour or disrespectful behaviour towards others will flash forth, and then you may see it recede again, and you may see the apparent empathy come through and sweetness or whatever, which is generally an act, really. So in order to keep the person hooked in, the person needs to see some sort of goodness coming through, as it were, albeit fake goodness. So with a female abuser who is potentially on the down low, you will possibly at some point or other, if you look carefully, either hear about something she's been saying or see this true personality come forward, in which case we can stand back, have a look for any more red flags, and take our time. This is key tool to have in our safe relationship training toolbox. Take time, remain aware, make observations, write down in the relationship log. You can download that on the website below, so that you keep a documentation of what you're seeing, what you're sensing from this person as well, however small. So as always, stay safe and very happy. Bye bye.